Hey everybody, what up? Scuff D here. And tonight I'm going to wrap up. I think we're in the second half here now of the Flight of the Eisenstein event. So reinforcements have arrived, and with that being said, I changed up the decks. There was a change to Iact and Cruise in the event. So I swapped out for a different warlord and just did a single run. It was pretty fun. Figured I'd share it. We'll get into it. So actually, the warlord that I was doing, and I just finished a 12-win run. I went 12-1, and I should have taken a picture of, I guess, opening up the reward crate just to kind of show off what a 12-win crate looks like. Basically, if you're not aware, or if you're kind of curious, or if you're both, if you get the 12 wins, you get your tickets refunded back to you. So in this instance, it was just a single win for me, so I got one ticket back from one crate, and then you have a higher chance of getting a legendary. I think it's about a 20 to 33% chance of getting a legendary, and then you tend to get a couple epic cards or epic cosmetics depending on what it is, and about anywhere between 40 to 60 gold in a crate. Used to be a much higher way back when, before they made some changes to the economy, and that was a great way to just like crank out some gold and get gold to buy crates and get cards in the crates that are giving you the gold to get more crates and so on and so forth. But that's neither here nor there. Now the deck I was using, Plague Marine. I don't know. I was using Plague Knife, I believe is the one. It has Ambassador Melgator in it. Has a bunch of frontline troops, 2 wall of bodies, 2 command bunkers. I believe it's called Plague Knife, and I don't have the list right up here with me. But that's what drew my eye to it. Was number 1, Ambassador Melgator. Number 2, 2 endurances, and a bunch of wall of bodies. Why wall of bodies? Because the Plague Marine's ability of being able to poison a troop is just sick. No, I'll just blow a ticket here. Oh darn, he's not here to show off. Well, here's the reinforcement warlord for the chaos side is the Lord of Flies. Ignoring the maintenance cost of your demons seems pretty cool. Stealing health seems pretty cool. Puts a swarm of flies into play, which is a demon that normally has maintenance, and he can ignore that, and that's cool. I don't know how it stacks up yet. Garrow and Carria, I'm gonna go with Lord of Flies here just in the second run. We'll just make this selection. I'm not gonna not gonna crank it out here, but really quick. What I'm taking a look at here is just the cards that he's got available to him here. A bunch of demons. Yuri is not a bad one. Melgator, okay. Command bunkers, Civilis, Mortarian's Resolve. I like that. Or do I like Duke? Duke, defensive, Jubak. Command post, Mount Pharos. Gosh, underground fort. That's interesting. No demons here, but Ogre and Sergeant. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Monsters Insect. I'm gonna back out of here though really quick. I don't have. Maybe if I go into my Discord here. This is a little different trip here. What we've got usually on my Discord channel, it's not mine, it's Trader's End. One of our buddies in the lodge set it up. We've got a spat where we just keep all the event deck lists, and I'm sure a lot of the other lodges have got something like this. Okay, here we go. Plague Knife. Right here. Let's tap on this. And this way you can kind of get a good look at the decks. Yeah, this is the deck I was running. No, not 2 Blessing of Nurgles. That's not what I had. Okay, well then it wasn't Rod and Horde. Vengeful Comeback? Plague Elite? That's not the one. Rod and Horde. Oh, you know what? That's Grolger. No wonder. I don't know if we have a Plague Marine. Yeah, there we go. Yes. Okay, so Rod and Shield actually is the name of the deck that I'm using here that I'm going to show off. Rod and Shield. So as you can see here, a lot of frontline stuff, a lot of rares, Wall of Bodies, Shield Up, Korturg Squad, Meldon Squad, Skitari Protector, First Wave, Giesel Terminators. I mean, just a bunch. 204th Cohort, a bunch of frontline stuff. And then to go with that, you've got additional things like 2 times endurance, Spectre of Death, Halden Tal, Command Bunker, and Ambassador Melgator to kind of add into that control factor. Late game, you're dropping either the Auxilla Lehman Russ or Father Decay or Halden Tal to kind of wrap things up. And if you're really, really lucky, or you happen to get, you use that Eisenstein. Eisenstein is not normally, I mean, you might see it sometimes in some niche Death Guard decks, not normally necessarily a Garo deck, but you use Eisenstein to repeat Melgator as needed, or in the event that you need to bring up a troop that and fully heal it and then drop it back with a bigger buff, you can do it that way too. It's a little costlier, but Eisenstein is great for repetitive Chewbacca. So let's get back to the game. I believe I played Garo, Iacton Cruz. The bots I won't take a look at. Definitely played Lord of Flies down here, closer to the bottom. My one loss was to Iacton Cruz, Ancient Wisdom deck, and that is just a brutal deck. It's just a matter of you getting the draw of the massive damage on you before you can kind of build up. Now let's take a look at a victory over let's take a look at the Lord of Flies first, because he's new. So we'll go in here. Let's see if this loads up right. So, yeah, this was a good game, I remember correctly. This is going to be a little bit of a long one, if I also remember correctly. No, I swapped out these two. I kept the Melgator and the Meldon because you can get those out early. And then you've got Jubok. Oh, maybe this is not. No. I don't know. I think I get. There was a game in the series here that I played, and I don't think it was against a bot, where I was able to keep the Jubok Star Sight on the table almost the entire game, and it was pretty rough for the opponent because it was against an Iacton Cruz, because I remember Sons of Horus cards in my hand, so it won't be this game here. So as you can see, I mean, he's going to be absorbing life. I'm going to be healing 1 life at the end of each of my turns. That's what the Plague Marine does as a passive. He starts out with 25 health, which is low health, like lower than your normal 30. But that ability to heal through the course of a game can sometimes massively compensate for that. And then his ability of 2 energy, poison a troop, is really why you want him. He's a great counter to the Iacton Cruz, which has been changed because Iacton Cruz was a 4. He gained +2 attack when you used his ability and give him frontline, as well as I believe his initiative was lowered. So now he's 1 step lower in initiative, and his attack is raised to 3 instead of 4, which makes a big difference. But being able to poison big troops or troops that you can't necessarily take care of in your turn, and you don't want to have to hit and spend, okay, hit 3, and then he's going to hit me 3. I'll just poison this troop for 2 and take care of it. There's plenty of frontline in the course of the deck that you can poison a troop and actually not even have to worry about them hitting you. Instead, they're hitting your frontline troops, and that makes them very sad. And you've got shield up to recover your frontline troops. You've got endurance to heal. You've got the Eisenstein if you need to bounce them back. There's just so many ways to just keep stuff on the board, make your opponent frustrated, and all the time that he's not hitting you, you are regaining health. Conceptually, you're attacking him for 2. You're only taking 1 damage at the end of the turn if you're healing, if you're attacking each turn. So just all in all, a really good balance. And I like the Plague Marine that he's an event exclusive warlord. We're not going to see him too many more times. If they do another flashback event, we might see him, but he was eventually replaced. Now, if you watched the event video that I did for the Horus Rising event, I chose Durak Rask for his passive ability of destroying structures and vehicles that he attacks or that damages. There is no Durak Rask in this event, unfortunately. Otherwise, first off, I would have chosen him. Second off, I would not have chosen decks that include Wall of Bodies and Command Bunkers, because those could potentially be liable cards to me. I'm just pumping stuff up here and just I've got 3 frontline now that he's going to have to go to. I know that Sibilance is going to bounce something. I don't really care. And I've got poison to get it past his survivor, so it doesn't even matter what he does. He can bounce one of my units. That's okay. Preferably a command bunker, because then I can reuse it. But if he also bounces the Melgator, and I think that's probably why he did this right here, because God forbid that gets returned to my hand from the Sibilance dying. You always want to you want to negate that if you can. So yeah, so just a strong deck, just a fun deck. Shipmaster Karya is another event exclusive warlord we're not going to see anytime soon. I don't think he's a legendary card in the Imperial Army pool, but he is not a warlord. Acton Cruz does not have a card at all, so I don't know if we're going to see him or not. At some point down the road, maybe we will. It's hard to say. But yeah, just fun nurgly things. Now, the one downside, I have to say, in playing the Plague Marine, or even Lord of Flies, and I picked Lord of Flies in this next run that I'm going to do, and I just did a single. I don't want Chaos to win in this event. I prefer the Imperial reward. I like the Thaddeus Fail as Warlord. I like the potential that has. I would like to see that in the game, more so than I would want to see Lord of Flies in the game. Lord of Flies has got an interesting ability, but he's got low initiative, and it's not too terribly different from Ingethul, which is the other Chaos Demon Warlord, who reduces the cost of maintenance by 2. He ignores it for those greater demons. That's great. And you could probably build something different there, but it's not significantly different. I guess the Absorbing Life is the big difference between him and Ingethul. He's not handing out marks of chaos. He's relying on playing the greater demons and then just whatever troops he's got in the meantime. But just the same, I like the concept of what Thaddeus Fail can bring to the game potentially. So I'm going to hope that the Imperial faction continues to win this event and scores high. And so here's a good example of wall bodies, and you don't have to. It's not common to pump up the wall bodies, but when you're in a spot to be able to do it, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great. And I think this might have been a misplay for him, because maybe he was not thinking that stun would trigger, because the troop was still on the board at the time. I could be wrong, but I think that was really the misplay that kind of cost him this game at this point, because otherwise that unit would still not be stunned, but I've still got plenty of front line to not really worry about it. And at this point, it's just a card that he's not going to be able to use. He's going to have multiple troops on the table to do anything, and that's not enough to stop my Lord of Decay. So that just is going to, I think he forfeits here after he drops all his cards, or he's down to 1 health and he just lets me finish him off. No, Lord of Decay and the tank, the Lehman Russ tank, that are the big closers for this deck. The important thing with it is knowing, with the deck that you're facing, the opponent's deck that you're facing, tap to continue. That's what I'm doing. There we go. Every deck in the events has got a destroy card, whether it's Outflank or Spectre of Death, whatever it is. You don't want to drop them if you can help it. If your opponent hasn't played their destroy card yet, you kind of want to bait that out. If they have, then you're free to play one, or if you've got both, play the Lehman Russ first, and then if they get rid of it, play the demon. And he is so hard to get rid of. He's got 14 health. He's a demon, so he can't be simply bounced by Melgator. Melta bombs are not going to get rid of him. He can act again. He can bring you troops on the board. He can give you 3 troops a turn, and then attack with his big old fat 6 attack, 14 health. He's just brutal. He's a great way to close the game. Now, if your opponent, and there's a couple of these mirror matches here. Let's did that. Let's look at the Plague Green versus. I did my challenge with Ferrous Manus deck versus Decaying, which is why you're seeing that there. Let's do Nathaniel Garrow. This was a good Garrow game right here. It was a satisfying Garrow game. Garrow in the event is not as strong as he can be in the. Oh, yeah, I definitely don't want that. Now, I kept to a 4th cohort for the simple fact, and like I was just about to say, Garrow is not as strong in the event as he is in practice play. The event decks are not bad, but they don't entirely favor him. So I knew I'm going to be able to get to turn 6 to play to a 4th cohort. More importantly, to a 4th cohort, 204th cohort gives to me 2 frontline troops, and that makes for a big play against Garrow, who, it's bad enough when there's 1 that he's got to deal with repeatedly, but when there's 2, that makes him frustrated. So I kept that card in hand because I knew I was going to be able to play it. I don't know if I get to play Cargill or not. We'll see. But the key with this versus the Garrow is the front line. Now, something I didn't know in one of the games that I was playing, and I guess I should have thought about it because it works if he plays First Wave or if he plays Ornithos Barge. But with this little Righteous Zealot Backlash, if that is destroyed on his turn, it puts into play the Zealot. That actually would trigger his ability, which is a great little tactic for Garrow if your opponent doesn't suspect it or they can't do anything about that guy. It gives him a free action without actually having to pay any energy to deploy a troop. So that's a nice little tactic here. And he's going off of that guy because he doesn't want me to pump up the health for anything else, which is fine. And I certainly don't want him to poison anything, and I'm in a position where I can certainly poison things, and my hand, as you can see, there's nothing I can play. So let's just get rid of some things. That's the one drawback to the deck, is there are some high cost cards. But the positive thing is if you're in a position, you should be able to play 1 card every turn and get some value for it. And even if it's just that 1 card, it's a card that's noteworthy, essentially. Now, Poison works great against these guys too because they die on your opponent's turn, so they're not going to be respawned. Now, when he played that, I was sad because I definitely do not want to get stunned here, but at the same time, I gotta deal damage to that. So I could have played the cohort, and he would be able to destroy one of those, and then still have that on the board. I wanted to go with the Gizulk Terminator instead, just to throw that out there. And now I've got a stun front line, and he can probably drop a troop and heal, but he went with that instead. And just in time for me to be able to play that Spectre of Death. Because between the 2 of them, I'd like to have some Nurglings. Now, the problem with playing that Spectre of Death, if you've got Father Decay in your hand, you're not going to be able to play Father Decay if there's 2 Nurglings out, because their maintenance will prevent you from being able to do that. So keep that in mind. If you're getting close to that end game and you've got Decay out, don't do it. Now, I played the Endurance here because I wanted to heal my Gizulk, kill his Gizulk, still have my Gizulk on the table, and swing it in my favor. Just making it harder for him to get rid of anything. But as I was saying, if you've got the option to get rid of your Nurglings on your turn as it gets late in the game, that'll buy you that extra energy to be able to play those troops that you need to play. Now, I kept the Signify. Signify is almost as good as a destroy card. You get 1 in this deck, which is really good because it's good to jam. It's jamming frontline troops, jamming your opponent's Malgahurst, jamming your opponent's Greater Demon or Father Decay or anything that it basically is. You don't want to get rid of their maintenance, but at the same time, that ability is a brutal ability. Just selective jam sometimes is enough, and then to go with it is a 5/4 body. That's just great. So here, I've got a 7 cost. I'm starting to get into the end game here. I'm only going to drop 1 of these Nurglings, and just make his day really hard. And he's only got 4 cards in hand, so at best, he can heal a couple times, and he can't. And it's just too much for the Garrow. So that's a Garo matchup, and the Plague Marine here. I like the art. I like the little plotting. The deck is very simple. The ability to just poison as a warlord ability, it's strong. It's strong. You could argue that it's better than Mortarian's ability to stun, but I think Mortarian's ability to stun is a better ability through the course of a game. While it's nice to be able to poison structures and vehicles, being able to stun them and then comboing with some of his other cards and being able to stun a warlord. You can't poison a warlord. So in a mono match, if you're facing like just an Angron who doesn't run troops, you're never going to be able to use your warlord ability. Being able to stun your opponent's warlord every turn for the entire game, that can be frustrating. So then we finished off here with the Plague Marine versus Acton Cruz. I think this is my 12 win. It must be. It's the last one up at the top. So I don't know if this one was noteworthy. There might have been a couple. Oh, you know what? I think it did. I think this was semi-noteworthy. We'll see. I was not happy with that starting hand at all. No thanks. No thanks. Now, Acton Cruz is still not to be underestimated in the event. And obviously, it might be the last time that we see him. We might see him one more time down the road. As the story in the game progresses, as they get events closer to Tarot, we might see him emerge as a Knights Errant. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him again. I like his character to begin with, and I like event-exclusive warlords. I haven't seen an Amendra. She was the Imperial reinforcements. She's the Sister of Silence, and she has got a neat ability. I don't know how well it works. I don't know what her decks have got. So that remains to be seen. But it's nice that she's in the game, and a lot of people are thinking with the Sisters of Silence being in the game, that you're gonna see the Talons of the Emperor in the Prospero expansion coming out in a couple weeks. Maybe not. She's a neutral warlord in this event. So will she, won't she, remains to be seen. Now, the reason I know he's got a Grolger, this deck runs 2 Grolgers, and I think also a Goldstone or 2. But the reason I put Jubak out early is to force his hand early, and to make him put it out if he's got the troop, as well as use Iacton to attack, as opposed to use Iacton to defend. That lets me basically, it prevents a turn like this where he's able to drop it, use it, bank it. Now, granted, the Goldstone has got 3 health or 2 health instead of 3, but it's the exact same thing on my turn. Now I can drop a troop and then poison his troop, and that's the way that the Plague Marine can get around the Acton Cruz is being able to poison. You've got something that you don't want me to hit, then I'll just poison it. That's fine. And he gets pretty lucky here with some defensive satellites in this game. It makes me a little sad. But that's the way it goes. And he's going to have to go with his ability here, or with his troop, with his attack rather. And we are even Steven. And then I'm at a point where I'm like, well, I've got to play something. I can't not play anything with 6 energy. That just can't put me behind the clock. So I would like to get more max value for those trackers, but they had to go out. They had to do it. And that still leaves me the Melgator to do something. Defensive measures, drawing 1 card, not worth it. I want to play defensive measures when there's 2 or 3 troops on the table. It's not a great card. It's a late game card at best. When you haven't hit your big power that you want, it's got to be in your deck somewhere, and you can draw those 3 or 4 cards. Is it worth it to be in every Death Guard deck? Probably not. So I didn't poison them, because I don't have the energy, but also it's not a huge troop. He's going to draw a card from it, from dying. He's going to act with it anyways. Not a big deal. So that bought me a turn. And again, I eat a lot of damage from his second defensive satellites. Defensive satellites have been giving me a lot of grief the last couple of days. I'm not playing them right now, but when they're getting played against me, it seems like it's always 4 on the warlord. It's brutal. So here's the chance. I know he's got a outflank in his deck somewhere, and I'm forcing him to play it here. So he did have it in hand, and he's going after that tank, which is a shame. I don't get to use the tank. But on the plus side, it's out of the way, so the next big guy I drop, and there's 2 other ones in here, Halden Catal and Father Decay, they're not going anywhere. There's nothing he's going to be able to do to him. And I've still got the Melgator in my hand, because he might drop Malgahurst at any given time. And I'd rather not see that if I can help it. So at least I got a decent return on my defensive satellites with that one. 3 on the warlord. Now this is dangerous here, and I knew it. I got to kind of gauge it. With my healing at the end of the turn, I'm up just 1 health above him dropping a spirit, vengeful spirit and a direct attack. 10 damage is the lethal range, basically, of this deck. If you can stay above 10, you can't just get 1 turn one-shotted with, or it's not really 1 turn, but one-shotted with the power of Vengeful Spirit. Now, I had to go ahead and bounce those back to his hand because that cleave is just too powerful, and I wanted to set my board up. But I'm going to keep on to that Sigma Phi, because if he drops it again, I can just jam his cleave, and then he's just got a 4/5 guy, but nothing that can cleave. And he does drop it again. And then he does something here, which is pretty interesting. I think it's not a terribly bad move. He drops both of these guys here to get rid of my Melgator. And I think he did that because he knew that I could potentially have an Eisenstein, pick up Melgator, and then do it again. So he avoided that. And I've got 10 energy. I wanted to jam, but it's probably better for me to draw 4 cards. This is an opportune time, and this gives me 4 cards that I'm gladly to have. And I can get rid of all of his troops and heal myself some too, and just stay right out of his lethal range with that endurance. And now we're even Steven, but the difference is I've got 2 troops on the board and a passive that heals me every turn. And the one thing that the Sons of Horus deck does not have here is it does not have healing. It just banks on that heavy, heavy damage. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I've got a Jam card, and I've got a Spectre of Death card. Both are nice. And he's got 2 targets that I really want to get rid of. And if I do that Spectre of Death, he's going to copy it, which means I don't want to play my Father Decay until he's played the Spectre of Death, or I'm just going to go with so many troops on the table, there's nothing he can do about them. And then I'm going to poison him instead of attack him directly. I'm going to give him 2 cards, and that's a good card that he's got. I'm giving him 2 cards, and technically you could say I give him a 3rd card with that Spectre of Death, but if I don't have any big cards on them for him to take care of, then he won't be able to really blow anything on it. He won't gain anything from it necessarily. And I don't know what the 2nd card is here that he picked up, but a jammed Haldental is not a front line, is still a 5/9, but it's not as dangerous. And I've got 1 front line, but I'm at that crucial range where he could somehow take out that, attack me, and then do a Vengeful Spirit. So I've got to use that full heal to make a little Nurgling a front line for me. And now it's really going to make it hard for him at this point. And if he gets rid of one of those, see, he had the 4 direct, so he could have done that, got rid of it, and then hit me for 5, plus who knows what else he had in hand. That's the other card he copied, was the old Command Bunker, which is nice. Haldental is a beefcake, and I think when they added the front line to him, that was a good touch. I don't know if he's going to be always an auto-include, but in a sealed deck as a vehicle, and as a card that is just brutal, that's not a bad thing to have. Not a bad thing to have at all. So, what do? I've got a couple options here. I can get rid of that, which I do, because if you're not getting rid of the front line, you're not going to be able to finish off Acton Cruz, and you need that. And with 3 front lines, there's no way that he's going to be able to get rid of both of them. And now, even if he manages to get rid of 2 of my front lines, I've got health well above the threshold, and I've got more than enough lethal on the board to get him below 3, and that finishes off the game. And that's how that series concluded, and that was my 12 win, and which was nice. Didn't get anything for it. I still only need that Angron Primarch in my, don't want to be on Terra with the Ferrous Manus deck. Practice only. This is my challenge, was to get play 20 cost 2 or less troops in a game, and I think I got 37 thanks to Nurglings and those Rhinos. So completely doable. And Ferrous Manus makes it easy because I can at least pump up those little cheap guys to keep the board clear, which lets me play my game. That was against a bot, but those are the best ones to do your challenges against, unless you've got a friend who you can connect to relatively easy and who knows what your challenge is. Those bots make for some fun walking games. So that's it. That's the Plague Marine. That's the Plague Marine deck. I'll be curious to see how this Lord of Flies goes. Again, this tables have shifted here. You see the green bar. It's getting closer to the middle. It was a big swing with Acton Cruz, but with the changes that they've made to him, as well as the introduction of the Plague, not the Plague, but the Lord of Flies into the game, a lot of people are shooting for this Chaos Victory. But I really would like to see Thaddeus Vale added to the game. I prefer him to the Lord of Flies, and just because I think he's got a lot of potential. But he could be problematic too, because then it puts the card developers in a spot for any sort of neutral cards that they create. How will that interact with Thaddeus Vale's ability? So, you give flank to a friendly troop. Well, that's great. If they make a troop that is a 9-cost card and has a ability that deals 6 damage without siege or something like that, and he can just give them flank. Is that a smart move or not? Is that too powerful? Is that a crazy combo? There's a couple of combos already that people are talking about. Time Melt-A-Bomb is a great one. Obviously, the Zeta 9. Where is he at? The guy who's got, Cleave 5. Mechanicum have got some great ones, really, if you really think about it, how beefy they are. Lambda Zeta 01. Cleave 5, 5/9. With flank, so I don't have to attack your warlord, but my Cleave 5 will do damage to your warlord. That might be a little bit overpowered. It might be a little bit sad when that happens, but that is a 10 energy, so anyways, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We've still got 3 days left to go in the event. Trader's End is holding in there at 4. Our goal for this one is just top 10. Top 10 is going to get a copy. All the lodge members in the top 10 lodges will get a copy of whichever one of these warlords is added to the game, and that's always a nice benefit, because we don't need to hunt for it, we don't need to search for it, and technically we get a day or two, possibly early, to play with it and test it and throw it out, and that's 10 lodges of 20 people, so that's 200 people in the game running around a day or two early, hopefully testing these things and finding maybe the next new thing. I don't know if necessarily either of those warlords is going to be the next new thing, but they definitely will be new. So we'll see how it goes. Good luck to all the lodges out there that are staying in top 10. Hope you stay in top 10. WoG is coming up there. My WoG and Excalibur could still sneak into the top 10. Completely possible. So we'll see. We've got 3 days to go. So that's it. That's the Plague Marine. I don't know if we'll see him again. I hope we do. See him again, because I like him. He was always nostalgic for me. He was like, oh, I remember the Plague Marine. Just a faceless guy. Just a faceless Plague Marine. He had no name. He just healed one. His ability was pretty basic. Corrupted Grolger, Amanda Kendrill, Acton Cruz. Man, this event has got a lot of event-exclusive warlords, and it's really been neat to play with them again, because once it's over, will it be over forever? Who knows? All right, well, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching, and hope you learned a little bit of something. Hope you got some intrigue if you're tempted to play with the Plague Marine, as far as what deck to pick, the play style specifically in certain matchups, and why frontline is a good thing. And it is a good thing. You just gotta know you gotta know what to throw out there. And sometimes it helps know what your opponent's got, but if you keep in mind that they've always got that destruction card, whether they do or don't, until you've seen it, think that they do. Because they probably have it anyways. That's usually that's just the way it works. All right, that's it for me. Talk to you later. Keep playing Legions. Oh, before I forget, I've got if you're on Discord, I have got a poll going. I'm doing a second poll, player opinion, on the top 5 cards that you think need to be improved. And this is across the board. This goes through neutrals, legions, warlords, whatever. Whatever cards you think need to be improved. Not changed, not nerfed, not it's too powerful, need to be improved as in you don't play with them, you pass over them. You would like to play with them, but you just never do. There's always another reason not to. There are some cards that are just completely unplayable. What 5 cards do you, the player, want to see improved? That's my next poll. I'm doing this all week long, Friday at midnight, this is April 22nd, so the end of this week. This is Monday. At the end of this week, I'll close the poll, I'll count the tallies, and we'll do a little countdown, and we'll see what people think are the top 5 cards that players want to see improved. So if you are on Discord or you're not on it that often, please head over, check it out. Shoot me a PM or ping me in the chat with your top 5. If you've got reasons why you chose a particular card, feel free to list those out there. If you've got suggestions on how the card can be improved, feel free to throw those out. Those will be good things to talk about. So I want to make sure I throw that out there just to get the word out. And the word is out now. So that's it for me. Thanks for tuning in. Next time we'll get together. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I'll be doing something deckish. Thinking we've done card by cards. There's no, well, I don't know. Shoot, next week we might have some changes. We might have a new faction in the game. In 3 days we might have a new faction, although we could have a short event too. I don't know. We'll see. So I don't know what the future will bring, but it will be interesting. And so until we meet again, keep playing Legions, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.